From childhood, Vera was not remarkable for her striking looks. While other children charmed with their plumpness and appeal, it was clear that Vera was destined to be neither a beauty nor even simply pretty. Her mother openly expressed regret that her only daughter had been unlucky, inheriting less than ideal features from both parents. Instead of her mother's expressive brown eyes, she got her father's, small and of an indeterminate shade. Instead of her father's straight and handsome nose, she was adorned with her mother's, which slightly resembled a bird's beak. Unlike her mother, this feature did not suit Vera at all, making her face seem disproportionate. Otherwise, her features were unremarkable. An ordinary mouth, hair, and figure, as if purposefully designed to go unnoticed. Contrary to popular belief, the ugly duckling did not transform into a beautiful swan. Reality was far removed from fairy tales and melodramas, where plain girls are transformed into beauties through love or life changes. In Vera's case, no miracle occurred. She remained an unremarkable girl, then an unappealing young woman, and later, a middle-aged woman. And while there are many stories of how charm and charisma allow people of average appearance to win hearts and achieve success, this did not happen for Vera. By the age of 40, she realized she had very little time left to fulfill her dream of starting a family. To be frank, the desire to change anything had almost faded. Vera had grown accustomed to solitude, decorated her parents' apartment to her liking, and worked successfully as an economist. It seemed an independent woman needed nothing more. She traveled for vacations, sometimes even abroad. However, the death of her parents, who never lived to see her wedding or grandchildren, filled Vera with guilt. She knew how they had dreamed of seeing her as a happy wife and mother. And so, at 45, Vera, as an honest and responsible person, decided to make one last attempt to find love. She wanted to be sure she had done everything possible before finally resigning herself to the role of an old maid and getting a cat. Then I can honestly tell myself and my parents that I did everything I could, she thought. But where to look for a husband in the modern world? Vera turned to the internet and discovered numerous dating sites full of single men dreaming of a family, hundreds of thousands of users. Surely among them, there would be at least one who would be interested in Vera and whom she would like. It's pure mathematics, she reasoned, like a true economist. However, reality proved not so simple. There were many people, but each had their own motives and desires. Vera carefully filled out her profile and uploaded her photograph, deciding not to use retouching or filters. Why deceive, she thought. I'll have to show myself in my true colors at the date anyway. Having done everything necessary, Vera began to wait, and the men didn't keep her waiting. A total of 106 people messaged her. Not bad, plenty to choose from, she rejoiced. But her joy was premature. Opening one message after another, Vera was astonished by what these people were thinking. Only 5 wrote something more or less decent, but even they merely offered casual dates and a break from family life. Were they lying about looking for serious relationships? Vera wondered. She replied that she, in fact, wanted the burden of a family and asked them not to bother her again. And just like that, it stopped. No one messaged her again. Vera tried to boost her profile in search results, used paid services, but all in vain. She realized it was all useless. Either her profile was poorly written, or the photo was unflattering. Perhaps everyone here was lying to each other and happy to be deceived. And she was a black sheep, Vera was about to delete her profile when a man named Vladimir messaged her. He seemed like a true ray of light in a dark kingdom. Handsome, educated, well-off, divorced, and looking for new love. They exchanged messages for a couple of days. Vladimir was polite, articulate, and even made funny jokes sometimes. They decided to meet immediately, without wasting time on video calls. What awaited Vera on this date? Could Vladimir be the person she had been searching for so long? We'll find out soon enough. Vera meticulously prepared for the upcoming meeting. She visited a stylist to create a flawless look and bought an elegant suit that accentuated her best features. A cozy cafe called Laguna was chosen as the rendezvous point. Stepping through the cafe's doors, Vera anxiously scanned the room for Vladimir, but he was nowhere to be seen. Confused, she paused at the entrance until she noticed a man sitting by the window, waving to her warmly. "Hello, I recognized you right away. You're even more beautiful in person," he said with a smile. As if I could be, Vera thought with a touch of self-irony. At first, it seemed to her that this man had nothing in common with the Vladimir she knew from the dating site photos. However, she soon recognized familiar features: a mole near his nose, the shape of his eyebrows, and the cut of his eyes. But this specimen looked about 10 years older and much more worn out by life. He wore a worn-out jacket, a carelessly ironed shirt, his nails were untidily trimmed, and his hairstyle left much to be desired. "I posted an old photo on the site, it's just more flattering," Vladimir explained naively, revealing crooked teeth and a smile. "Divorced and went downhill." A thought flashed through Vera's mind. He probably hits the bottle too. As it turned out, her guess was correct. Vladimir certainly had an education, and he proved to be quite a good conversationalist. However, after only half an hour, he became quite tipsy, and the conversation shifted to complaints about his ex-wife. "The children don't appreciate anything. He gives them everything and they turn up their noses. Ungrateful." So what if he sometimes relaxed after a hard day's work? Can't a working man have a pint of beer? And the bosses are real bastards too. The salary is meager, and he has to slave away from morning till night. That's why he left. And now he's actively looking. And a specialist like him would be snatched up in a heartbeat. Vera patiently listened to his outpourings, feeling increasingly awkward and unsure how to end it. Would she have to pretend she needed to use the restroom and just escape? But that would be too rude. What if Vladimir didn't have enough money to pay the bill and got into trouble? After all, he was already in a difficult situation. Taking pity on him, she waited for a pause in his monologue, announced that it was time for her to go, and asked for the check. "Vera, maybe we should each pay for ourselves?" Vladimir suggested uncertainly. Vera agreed, but it turned out that Vladimir had eaten and drunk much more than he had money for in his wallet. In the end, Vera had to pay the entire bill herself. "Walk you home?" the slightly swaying prospective husband asked, slurring his words. Vera thanked him and declined. "You're a good broad, Vera," he hiccuped. "I mean, a good woman." Vera merely nodded in response, seeing no point in arguing. She was about to leave when Vladimir suddenly grabbed her hand and asked to borrow some money, whatever she could spare. He promised to return it. He definitely would. Well, maybe a little later. Vera couldn't take this anymore. She pulled her hand away and headed for the bus stop. The prospective groom, swaying like a feathergrass stem in the wind, watched her with blurry eyes. So much for a prince on a white horse. If the best of them turned out like this, what about the worst? Vera thought, and, without hesitation, deleted her profile from the dating site, vowing never to look for her destiny there again. Perhaps other women found luck there, but not her. The unsuccessful date with Vladimir temporarily put Vera off looking for a life partner. But since she had promised herself to try, she shouldn't give up at the first failure. And just then, her friend Sveta announced that her husband's widowed friend wanted to meet a woman, and Sveta had recommended Vera to him. "We're having a barbecue at the dacha on Saturday, closing out the dacha season. Come over, Stas will be there too. You can meet and chat in a relaxed setting," Sveta suggested. However, the atmosphere, to be honest, was quite strained. Forced jokes, ambiguous hints. Sveta so persistently extolled the virtues of the potential couple that Vera felt uncomfortable. All that was missing was the saying, "We have the goods, you have the buyer," to complete the picture of a village matchmaking. Stas didn't make a strong impression on Vera. Short, scrawny, fidgety, he'd make a joke and then laugh at it himself. But Vera wasn't expecting to see an Adonis, and his manners and excessive restlessness could be attributed to nervousness. Therefore, Vera might have agreed to meet him again in a calmer setting, without the judging glances of curious eyes. But that was not to be. Vera forgot a sponge and went back for it. She wasn't trying to eavesdrop or sneak up, but her arrival went unnoticed, and she heard Stas tell Sveta, "Sveta, you said she was pretty, but what is this?" That's exactly what he said. What is this? As if Vera were an inanimate object, like an old nightstand. Vera didn't take the sponge or wash the dishes. She simply picked up her bag and walked to the bus station. On the way, she sent her friend a text message thanking her for the hospitality, but couldn't resist adding a wish for Stas to find a beauty just like himself. No more matchmaking, Vera decided. Only humiliation. And her friendship with Sveta was now strained. Sveta hadn't yet decided whether to be offended by Vera or, conversely, to apologize for Stas and for wanting to dump such a treasure on Vera. After regaining her composure a bit, Vera decided to try one last method. She would do this, be utterly disappointed, and then draw a line under it all. So she signed up for a speed dating event at a club. Everything was simple and functional. Participants sat at tables, and men rotated to sit with them. Only 5 minutes were allotted for conversation. Then the man would move to another table, where another candidate was waiting, and another contender would sit at the vacated table. In one evening, one could meet many men and filter out those who weren't suitable. If someone was liked, you had to write down his name or names and give the sheet to the organizers. If the choices matched, participants would go on a regular date. An excellent idea, especially since before the event Vera had a brief interview where her age, profession, interests, occupation, and ideal partner preferences were discussed, after which she was assigned to an appropriate group. Yes, the idea was indeed wonderful. However, Vera's sheet remained blank. Of the dozen men she met that evening, not a single one appealed to her. Only a few types from the recent party stuck in Vera's memory. The first, a slovenly specimen, neglected basic hygiene, forgetting to wash his hair and use deodorant. The second annoyed her with his knuckle-cracking and crude jokes. The third showed up, as he put it, for kicks, boasting that he had fans galore. Oh, the fourth was noticeably shorter than Vera. making them a comical pair. And realizing this, he immediately declared there were no prospects, preferring the company of a lady in a blue cardigan. The other candidates left no trace in her memory, but number 8 particularly stood out, a rude and ill-mannered type who, upon sitting down, stepped on Vera's foot and immediately accused her of spreading out, not even bothering to introduce himself. Thus ended this attempt to find a life partner, leaving behind bitter disappointment. The event organizer informed Vera that one participant had indeed noted her name, but it no longer mattered. She made a firm decision. I've had enough. This is the end. 2 weeks passed. Late September brought prolonged rains. Many couldn't stand the autumn gloom, gray skies, piercing dampness, wind trying to seep under clothing. But Vera loved this time of year. The cold and slush outside only emphasized the warmth of home. Curled up in an armchair with a cup of hot cocoa and an interesting book, one could enjoy the bad weather, listening to the rain and wind contend outside the window. That day, Vera was hurrying home from work, rushing to the bus stop. People, sheltered by umbrellas, moved along the sidewalks like a living wave. Suddenly, a gap appeared in this wave, and Vera saw a person lying on the asphalt. The stream of people flowed around him. No one stopped to offer help. A man in a blue jacket and black trousers lay near a bench not far from the bus stop, his cap having rolled into a puddle, one leg bent beneath the other. Vera approached him. "Drunkard! What a disgrace! They get drunk and lie around here," grumbled a displeased old woman passing by. "Maybe he's sick?" Vera countered. The old woman shot her an angry look and walked on. Vera's bus pulled up to the stop. She hesitated. She wanted so badly to be home, in warmth and comfort, but a person was lying there. How could she abandon him? Vera bent over the man, but before she could examine him, ask a question, or check his pulse, a young man running for the bus pushed her. Like an antelope, he darted forward, oblivious to everything around him. He had to make it. Bumping into the woman, he didn't even look back, jumped onto the bus, and took a seat. He didn't care about Vera. She lost her balance and fell into the puddle next to the man in the blue jacket. Her umbrella flew off and was carried away by a gust of wind. Vera wasn't concerned about her umbrella. She tried to stand up, but her feet slipped, and she only got dirtier. "What a pair of drunks!" a lady in an expensive coat loudly declared. "Aren't you ashamed? You're a woman!" "But I wanted to see what was wrong with him. What if it was a seizure?" Vera protested. The man lying down was about 60 years old. He was clean-shaven, decently dressed, with a neat haircut. He didn't smell of alcohol, and his eyes were closed. "I told you, you're clumsy. Probably spread your legs out again." The voice sounded familiar, grumbling, and that word, spread out. Vera looked up and saw candidate number 8, the sullen type who had cursed at her, stepped on her foot, and been silent the entire party. Now he was extending a hand to her. "Come on, get up. Why are you lying there?" "I was pushed. I didn't fall on my own. Thank you." Vera got up. Her jacket was covered in muddy streaks, not to mention her boots, gloves, and trousers. Her bag was also stained, but it didn't matter. "I saw him lying there. I decided to make sure he was okay." "Did you confirm?" With these words, number 8 bent over the man and began to examine him. His movements were professional. "Are you a doctor?" Vera inquired. "A pathologist." She gasped softly. "It looks like he's had a stroke." "You were right, he needs help." He pulled out his phone. Soon, an ambulance arrived, and took the man to the hospital. Vera and number 8 remained on the sidewalk. It grew dark, and the rain continued. It grew colder, and Vera shivered in her wet clothes. How could she get on a bus looking like this? She'd have to call a taxi, but it was unlikely a driver would agree, unless for triple the fare. Number 8 stood nearby. Rain streamed down his face, but he didn't seem to notice. It seemed he noticed nothing at all, as if he were as impassive as his patients. "Why are you without an umbrella?" Vera asked, not expecting the question from herself. What business is it of hers? "I was driving by and saw you lying in a puddle. I parked and got out. Didn't really think about an umbrella. No time." "I see." "So, you recognized me?" Vera asked, surprised. "From that speed dating party?" "Why would I?" he interrupted. "What's so special about you that I'd remember you? As I said, I saw people needed help. Both you and the injured man." A wave of awkwardness washed over Vera, and her face flushed. "How ridiculous I am. What a laughingstock." A thought flashed through her mind. Was she still dwelling on that failed speed dating event, which he had probably long forgotten? "Excuse me, I have to go," she mumbled, trying to hide her embarrassment. "And you wouldn't happen to know where my car's parked?" Number 8 inquired with a caustic smirk. "No, but I assure you I wasn't heading in that direction anyway." "Really? And where then? I'm extremely curious. I don't seem to see a crowd of gentlemen ready to escort a beautiful lady to her fairy tale castle." Vera felt the color rush to her face and was glad it wasn't visible in the dim light. "Why do you constantly try to provoke me, to offend me? I didn't ask you for anything." "You didn't ask," he interrupted, not letting her finish her sentence. "But it's obvious you'll have trouble getting home." He took a step forward, closing the distance. Vera froze in place, as if rooted to the ground. "Why are you standing there like a statue? Come on, I'll give you a ride. Or do you seriously think I'm a maniac?" She had no choice. If she refused his offer, she wouldn't get home until who knows when, risking getting chilled to the bone and falling ill. With a heavy sigh, Vera trudged after her unexpected savior. "By the way, it's impossible to offend someone," he tossed over his shoulder, as if an afterthought. "To be offended, yes, that's everyone's personal choice. That's my view. Of course, all these heartless boors think that way," Vera thought sarcastically, but wisely remained silent. The car turned out to be quite large. Vera didn't know car brands, but it was obvious it was a foreign car, and an expensive one at that. "Get in, for heaven's sake, you're driving me crazy. Why do you keep freezing like a stone statue?" "Number 8, grumbled again, getting into the car and starting the engine. "I'm just worried about your car," Vera retorted. "Look at me, I'm all dirty." "I'll stain the seat. I need something to put down. Oh, I think I had a bag in my purse." Vera began frantically rummaging through her bottomless bag, and he watched her futile efforts for a while, then shook his head, as if reaching some important conclusion. "Stop messing around. I'll clean the seat myself later. It's not your concern. Just get in." "The bag seems to have disappeared," Vera said, flustered, and finally got into the car. The interior was warm and cozy. The heater was on full blast, warming her chilled body. "You'll warm up now. Surely you're chilled to the bone. Tell me where to take you." Vera gave her address, and they didn't exchange another word for the rest of the ride. "Here's my house." Vera pointed to the familiar building. "How much do I owe you for cleaning the seat and for—" "Calm down," Boris sharply cut her off. I'm not taking any money from you. That would be simply indecent. Consider it that you did me a favor. You saved a man. Now I'll have less work. If you hadn't intervened, I'd only have more to do. Vera involuntarily shivered, remembering number 8's specific profession. But you also helped him, and me, Vera said awkwardly. Okay, I'll go then. She reached for the door handle. Thank you. You are an amazing woman. Do you know what's special about you? He unexpectedly asked. It's your compassion. There are very few people like that left nowadays. At least I haven't met any in a long time. Online, it's easy to sympathize, coo over kittens, and shed tears from the couch. That's always welcome. But in real life, no one wants to bother themselves and get their hands dirty. 99 out of 100 would have passed that man by, but you stopped. Vera froze, astonished by such a long speech from number 8. And it wasn't a scolding or a lecture, but normal human words. I just think people should help each other, she mumbled, and immediately thought how trite and prim it sounded. Boris remained silent, as if pondering her words. Vera reached for the handle again, opened the door, but number 8 spoke again. You know, our introduction back then wasn't very successful. That's an understatement, she chuckled in response. If you haven't met anyone else yet, perhaps we could try again? Unexpectedly, Vera realized she was happy about this offer. Yes. Number 8 was no gift from fate. Rude, irritable, impolite, but at the same time, somehow genuine, kind, though he carefully hid it, and attentive. Let's try, she agreed, and, only on the third attempt, finally got out of the car, said goodbye, and went home. Number 8 turned out to be Boris. No Borya, he immediately warned. Only the full name. They met the next day at a small riverside restaurant. Boris had reserved a table by the window, offering a picturesque view of the river. However, Vera noticed nothing around her, completely focused on the man sitting opposite her. Stiff dark hair, tired, bulging eyes, a beard, broad shoulders, a large build, sparse but precise movements. His appearance was substantial. It was hard to find a more precise word, but she felt in her gut that he was a proper, solid person. Having lived for almost half a century, Vera had never known what love was, apart from her love for her parents. She didn't dwell on her feelings for Boris, whether they had a future, or if they would simply leave the restaurant, say goodbye, and each go their separate ways. At that moment, it didn't matter at all. In Alexei Balabanov's film, It Doesn't Hurt Me, one of the characters uttered the phrase that the most important thing in life is to find your own and settle down. Vera liked this film, and she liked that phrase, but she had only understood it intellectually, not with her heart. And only today, suddenly, she realized that she seemed to have found her own. And yes, she felt peaceful. Forgive me, Vera, for being rude to you, Boris said with sincere remorse. Perhaps my profession leaves its mark, but honestly, I've always been like this since childhood. I just don't know how to get along with people. It's not out of malice, but rather embarrassment. I see, Vera replied, looking at him with curiosity. But what made you go to the club? Such places don't seem to suit your character at all. I won a bet, Boris admitted with some annoyance. It's a long and frankly, rather absurd story, not worth retelling. I was just doing my penance, as I never believed anything worthwhile could come from such events. I was just going through the motions, and was angry at myself for giving in to persuasion, like a schoolboy. They continued talking until late into the evening. When the waiters began demonstratively coughing and noisily moving chairs, indicating the establishment would soon close, they came to their senses and headed for the exit. Boris, like a true gentleman, again offered to drive Vera home, and the closer they got to their destination, the more awkward the pauses in their conversation became. An inexplicable shyness once again bound them both, each frantically searching for suitable parting words. The car smoothly stopped near her building entrance. "I think I'll go. Thank you for a wonderful evening," Vera said, with feigned primness. In the cozy atmosphere of the restaurant, she hadn't thought about what would come next. She had simply enjoyed the moment. But now it dawned on Vera that she could very well get out of the car, return to her old life, clearly understanding that this life was no longer enough for her. Was it truly possible to barely know someone, yet acutely feel that without him, a void and coldness would form in her soul? "No, thank you," Boris replied with noticeable tension in his voice. "I really had a wonderful time. We're acting like high schoolers on a first date. Even today's teenagers are bolder," a thought flashed through Vera's mind. She lingered a little longer, realizing that Boris wasn't going to take any further steps. He wouldn't ask for her phone number, nor would he mention a next meeting. Apparently, the time they spent together hadn't been wonderful enough for him to want to repeat it. Her eyes treacherously began to sting. "What nonsense! Go home. Why are you hesitating?" Vera mentally scolded herself. And at that very moment, Boris spoke in the same restrained voice. "That evening at the speed dating party, I wrote your name on the card. Remember, you had to indicate if someone made an impression. Well, He stumbled, as if losing his train of thought. Vera suddenly felt light and peaceful. She opened her purse, took out a notebook and a pen, tore off a sheet, and quickly wrote something on it. "Here, take it," she said, extending the sheet to him. "Go on, take it." Boris took the sheet and read, "Boris,